Bum 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 ba da da dum bum bum ba da 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 dum bum 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 dum bum 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 ba dum bum 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 bum. Hello, my friends. Good evening on this second day of Christmas. Maids a milkin', that's the 8th day. Went to a party on Christmas Eve and we sang that song and many others and had such a blast. And oh my gosh, this is the best time of the year for all of us. We love it. Hello, everyone. Good evening from Texas. Hi, Tina and Debbie from Massachusetts. And I see my friends on all sorts of forums, platforms. And it's YouTube and Rumble now and Facebook. And of course, Joette's Mighty Members. Love you, Mighty Members. Thanks for joining me. It's great to see you all. And we're also on X. Forgot to mention that. So, and Instagram. Did I say Instagram? It's being whispered to me over here. Instagram. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and we do one thing and one thing only every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and that is we talk about homeopathy. I teach you what I know, and I hope that I inspire you so that you will take this to the next step, my friends. Don't count on just this. I want to inspire you for you to move forward in your journey towards health, autonomy. It is our job, my friends. It's up to us, not up to the government. Not up to the doctor. Oh, nay, nay. Not up to the industry, pharmaceutical or medical. It is up to us. Now, when we can't do it, then we may indeed find a good doctor that we can count on, a good chiropractor, a good PT. But, my friends, this belongs in the home, this healing. This work belongs in your hands. It is your job. It's my job. It's your job. It is what we were meant to do in the kitchen. That's what we were meant to do by the bedside of someone sick in our family. That's what we are intended to do for the rest of our lives. And so I'm here to inspire you and teach you what I know. But before I do that, I also just want to say, for those who do know me, welcome, friends. It's great to see you. So Christmas to me means making pizzelles. It's one of the many things I do, and I love it. So these are my pizzelles. They're Italian cookies. They're kind of like, they're waffles, I suppose, and they're anise flavored. And then I put powdered sugar on top. This happens to be a fig. Love figs. Dates. I stuff dates with almonds. And that is the Christmas treat that I make for my family. And I say it's for my family, but it's really for me. But it's for my family, neighbors, friends, people who come over. So Merry Christmas with Sicilian pizzelles. So just thought I'd share that with you because it's still Christmas. I'm sorry, my friends, it's still Christmas as far as I'm concerned. So let us talk tonight. First, let me say this. I need you to share this. I need you to like it and comment and subscribe, and I'll tell you why. It's not about me making anything on this. I have no affiliate programs, as you may or may not know. If you've been with me long enough, you know that I don't use affiliate programming. What I am concerned about is this. Every time I come out here on Monday nights, usually, of course, today's Tuesday because yesterday was Christmas on Monday, I stick my neck out. I'm putting myself out there. I feel obliged to do so. I know I have information that needs to be shared, so I do it. And indeed, I do encourage you to go one step further and join my study groups. I encourage you to get on my Joette's Learning Center and take a course or join a study group, etc. Or join my academy. Indeed, I do that. But my friends, I have to have the commitment from many people in order to keep this going. I've been doing this for many years now, and I've been warned once already, and I won't go into what that meant. And so I have to be very careful. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not an anxious person. I used to be until I used a homeopathic medicine for it. But I'm not an anxious person, but I will tell you, every time I go on, just before I go on every week, when I do these lives, I have trepidation. I worry that I'll say something that I can't pull back again because it's on the internet and it's there forever. I worry that something can happen with, I see I've got some Pixel dust on me. I am concerned that I could say something that could be problematic, not just for me, but for many. So if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to stick my neck out, I have to know that it's worth it. And so I ask myself, what makes it worth it? What makes it worth it is that I know that many, many, many people are learning this kind of homeopathy, that many people are going to use this, that many people will be benefited, that this belongs in the home, it belongs in la familia, my friends. This belongs in the hands of the family. And who is that, generally speaking? It's the mother and the grandmother. This belongs in our hands. We need to take responsibility for it. And so I ask you to please like, share, comment, and subscribe for that reason. And so I will freely give my information. There are times when there are certain things that I will not say on the internet, and then that's where it goes directly to my Joette's Mighty members, and I discuss more freely. If you're a member there, then you can certainly get a little more information that I'm willing to divulge. But I just want to say, please do that. If you value this, then please do share, like, comment, subscribe, etc. Okay, let's get into the meat of the evening, shall we? We are going to talk. What's our condition? Oh, let's see. What am I supposed to talk about tonight? Memory. Memory. What if we don't have a good memory? Now, let me also start by saying we don't want to treat something that's not really pathological, generally speaking, although I do have an exception to this rule. But what we want to do is be in optimal health as much as we possibly can. So we're going to do the usual. Okay, we're going to check our diet. Are you sure you're not eating too many sweets? Which, of course, this is the exception around this time of the year. But generally speaking, are you eating good quality meat? Are you eating butter and eggs from farmers directly, if at all possible? If not, then at least pasture raised, or if not, at least organic. And if not, then at least eat it anyway. Because that can affect memory. I know this personally. There was a time when I went on a nearly no-fat diet, and within a day, I could tell I lost my thinking ability. I know that I personally need a lot of animal fats. That is butter, mostly, but also eggs, the yolk especially. So make sure that you're eating well before you start condemning your memory. Make sure that there isn't a drug that unlikely to be you, but it can be you, and maybe perhaps you're on a medication like a statin drug or something like that, that can indeed cause a memory to be spongy, to be not up to par, not to be firm. Make sure you've thought about that, and if you're looking at the memory of someone, a loved one, do look at the conventional drugs that are being used, as well as supplements too, my friends. Sometimes supplements can cause trouble as well. I'm not a proponent of supplements in general. I mean, there are those exceptions, but there are pretty few in my book. So look at the extrinsic, what's coming in What's coming from the outside in? Are we sure we don't have mold in the house? Are we sure we don't have someone spraying their lawn nearby that could be problematic? Could it be a hormonal shift too? So let's get all of that, all of those extrinsic conditions, and put them aside and assume that you've checked that or you're going to check that. Now let's look at the homeopathic medicines. I've got them here on my laptop. I could have probably put it on. I have a second screen here. I could have done that, but I didn't do that. And we're going to look at the medicines that I find that I have found for my clients to be of the most value. Now, the first one I want to tell you about is, oh, look at that. Yes, here we go. Yeah, you guys are way ahead of me. My mighty members, you already know where I'm going with this. But I have one interesting one, and it was something I just found on PubMed. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't spend a lot of time reading it. It was a cursory read of it, and it was titled, Effect of Homeopathic Lycopodium clavatum on memory functions and cerebral blood flow in memory-impaired rats. So it was a study done on rats. And yes, my friends, homeopathy is studied in that fashion. You bet. And so if you look on PubMed, the effect of homeopathic lycopodium. Now, I would not have chosen lycopodium as one of my top medicines for memory loss, but I'm also going to tell you that when someone has a gut issue, more often men, but women too, a gut issue in which they get bloating and foods bother them, and they get bloating and perhaps they have eructations, or they have gas, but mostly it's about this bloating after they eat. It feels as though they've swallowed a beach ball, or it feels hard, or it feels as though it's not moving along. That is a great descriptor of lycopodium. And if they also happen to have difficulty remembering things or comprehending, lycopodium, my friends, is a great medicine. And how do we use that medicine? We use it in a 200C. Not a 6, not a 30, not a 1M, not a 10M, not a 50M. No, my friends, we use it in a 200C. And it is, yes, lycopodium works well for me. And then someone else just said something about their husband. It's one of the best medicines for men. But again, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't mean you can't use it for a woman. But it is, if you see that combination of bloating, especially after having just eaten, feeling as though they can't, it's not moving along. It feels like they ate more than they actually did. All they had was a little bowl of whatever, I don't know, oatmeal and an egg, and it feels as though they've eaten a Thanksgiving dinner. That most often is lycopodium. And if they also happen to have, as I said, a memory issue, a difficulty comprehending, spacey, and also there's a lack of confidence often in this person. If you see that combination, my friends, it's lycopodium. Lycopodium 200. We use it twice daily, and we do not use it forevermore. No, no, no. We use it twice a day for a few days, test it out, see how it works. If it works well, then you carry on if the work still needs to be done. But if the deed is done, we stop. Why do we stop when a medicine is working, when homeopathic medicine is working? Because it's no longer needed. It's done its job. Now, if a month later, all of this comes back, or a part of this description that I just described returns, what do? We don't say, oh no, it's back again. I guess that medicine didn't work. No, instead, we celebrate because we know exactly which medicine to use. And how do we know? It's because it worked before. So we just reinstate it again. Lycopodium 200C twice a day for a few days and see how it goes. Is that not gorgeous? And it may need to be used every once in a while, kind of like a little pick-me-up of sorts, but only when it is needed. And how do we know when it's needed? The symptoms return. That's how we know. Your gut is your second brain. Very well said, Lisa. It's absolutely so. Lycopodium, loves it, works well for me. Yep. You bet. It's also, yes, it's very good for the gallbladder as well. And that's often part of that whole picture. You don't necessarily need to have that tested. You'll know by the symptoms of gallbladder conditions, as well as the symptoms of that just severe bloating. Okay, we're going to go to another one. And of course, my friend Leanne is here, and she already mentioned it once, and that is Cali-Phos. That is an abbreviation for kalium phosphoricum, otherwise known as just plain old Kali, K-A-L-I, phos, P-H-O-S. Now, what I love about this medicine is that it's excellent for children. We can use it in a low potency, like a 6X or a 6C, for children when they are overextended in their studies. They're studying too hard. Their mind just feels too full. It's too much stress. It feels like, oh my gosh, I've got test after test after test. This could be for young children. It could be for teenagers. It could be for young adults. It could be for anyone who is very much stuck in that whole brain thinking, studying and worrying about the studying. It's overexertion, excessive office work. Looking at my notes. The mind is not sharp as a result of mental exhaustion. So, it acts as a memory enhancer. Isn't that a nice way to put it? I love that. It acts as a memory enhancer. So it can also be used if you know that this is forthcoming in your child or whomever in your family. They've got studies ahead of them, and you know that they get overexerted in the mental sphere, and they have a hard time concentrating. Then you go to using Cali-Phos 6X, maybe just before they study every night for a while, and see how it goes. Love this. It happens to be a cell salt, but matters not. It's still homeopathic medicine. It is also for the brain and nerves, and as a complete tonic for improving memory. Now, let me just describe the difference between, let's go back to Lycopodium and Cali-Phos. If there's bloating, and that is a big part of this picture, my friends, we're going to stay with Lycopodium because it's such an important part of this picture. If there is to overstudy, we're going to think in terms of Cali-Phos instead. What if it's bloating and overstudy? That is the million-dollar question. Then we look at the hierarchy. What is the most concerning? Is the bloating so bad that the person can barely move? It feels like they have, like I said, a beach ball in their belly. And it's awful to even think about moving because it's so tight and restrictive. Yet they also are feeling overwhelmed by their studies. That and also brings that issue of overstudy and mental exertion down a couple notches. So we go with what is the most concerning condition? What is the hierarchy? In this particular case, what I've just described, it would have to be the bloating and the memory loss. So we're going with Lycopodium. We're not going to use them all together, my friends. Can you purchase these medicines combined in a mixture? Yes, you can. But I think in general, it's best to learn it this way and use it this way, one medicine at a time per condition, if at all possible. Okay, next medicine. Let me take a sip of water, and meanwhile, I'll take a look at what everyone's saying. Claudia asks how many of the pellets. Claudia, just read your bottle. Every bottle is different. Every pharmacy that manufactures, some will say 3 pellets, some will say 5 pellets, and some will even say 1 pellet. So just read whatever it says on the outside of the bottle. Alrighty. Next medicine is one of my all-time favorites. It's called Phosphoricum acidum, otherwise known as phosphoric acid or phos acid. P-H-O-S, phosphoric acid, A-C-I-D, 2 words. I love this medicine in a 6X or 6C for when the person has ennui, which is the French word that describes a kind of a flatness, a lack of interest in life. There can be a difficulty in comprehension. The person can sometimes get to this state of lack of memory with the ennui, with the difficulty of even having enough gumption to want to get up and do anything in the day. They can have kind of a despair, sometimes even called a settled despair, that's a description given by Dr. Oscar Boricki in his rendition of this medicine. A settled despair. In other words, a despair that's old. It's been around a long time, and that despair comes with a lack of memory. They just can't remember. They're confused. They have no interest in comprehension, and so they're thoroughly browned off. They want to lay on the couch and watch movies. It's a depression with a mental confusion and a lack of memory. It can also come as a result of a shock. And there's a kind of a stupefaction that also is a part of phosphoric acid or phosphoricum acidum. And if we use it in a 6X or 6C, we would use it twice daily for a while, or it can also be used in a 200C. And in that case, if we use it in a higher potency, we're going to use it every 3 days. And we're going to use it for days, weeks, until we see a shift, enough of a shift where the person is off the couch now. They've turned off the old movies and they get back to their activities. They have interest again in life, and their memory starts to return. Their memory starts to pick up again, and they have an interest again. Phosphoric acid. Next one. For those of you who have taken my course called Mindful Homeopathy, you know this medicine. It's one of the main medicines that the Banerjees shared with me when I spent those years with them at the Prasanta Banerjee Homeopathic Research Foundation in Calcutta. For those of you who don't know about that course, that is where you will learn about all the emotional and psychological conditions that can be treated with homeopathy. And for those of you who have taken it, do share with everyone how that works, because these medicines can be gobsmacking when it comes to the ability to remove anguish, anxiety, a forthcoming event of fear of driving over bridges, sleeplessness, panic attacks, etc., etc. And so the medicine that I was referring to just a minute, you bet, Elvira, is Helleborus. Hella, Hella, Borus, Borus. One word, though. Seems like it would be two, but I'm pronouncing it in that way so that you have a better way of remembering it. Helleborus. I love it in a 30th potency, twice daily for a period of time until we see a shift. When we see a shift, we're doing exactly what I've been saying on this so far this evening. We back off, stop using it, then see how it goes. If the person needs it again, okay, you resume the use of it again. If not, we halt and then wait until it's needed again. Again, we're always looking for external possibilities. The mold that's in the bedroom that you didn't even know was there, or the food that the person is eating, red dyes in their food, etc., etc., etc. Not getting enough of the correct kind of fats, not the seed oils, but the real fats. Then we know that we can use something like Helleborus, particularly for when someone has kind of a dullness. It's the true meaning of the word stupid. I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion. I mean, there's a kind of stupor to them. They're confused. They're slow in answering. There's a despair and a gloominess. And they too, not unlike phosphoric acid, have indifference, an ennui of sorts. And they especially are indifferent to their loved ones or to things that have in the past given them great pleasure. Yes, Helleborus, 30, twice daily. All right, let's talk about the next one. Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying this. Thank you for saying best class ever. Love it. Let's see if I have one. Do I have one? Oh, I have one really good one. This one is really fascinating. Look, let me also tell you that I should show you in the repertory, and this is Robin Murphy's repertory. If I look under memory general complaints of, I'm going to point it out to you. I want to show you how many medicines are there that show a loss of memory. Right there. You see my index finger right there? Look at that whole list of all these homeopathic medicines. These are not sentences. These are just a list of the medicines for memory problems. And it goes on page after page. So I could stay here for a week teaching you all these medicines. I want to give you those that are quite fascinating, that are interesting, and are useful because I want this to work for you. And also those that are that kind of stand out. So you might think, well, it might be Kelly Foss because my son is so caught up in school and he's so worried about school and he thinks too much and he says, I can't remember what I just learned, etc., etc. Okay, but the differential might be that he has, for example, a history of kissing tonsils that are enlarged, or a history of, or he still has them now, his tonsils are enlarged. And they have been. It doesn't mean he's sick. They're just enlarged. And not only are they enlarged, but perhaps that person, maybe now he's an adult, or she's an adult, or he or she's a child, and they had a history of tonsillitis. I'm going on to another medicine that many of you are already going to know, but I'm going to keep describing it, and then I'm going to give you the name of the medicine. They can have very weak memory. This can be for a child. It can be for especially a child who is stunted in their physical growth, as well as perhaps their emotional and mental growth. They might be behind in school because their memory is so bad. They have difficulty memorizing, difficulty learning, difficulty studying. They learn something and then they forget it right away. And you can't imagine, how is it that you can't remember this? You just learned this. But it is a combination of this lack of growth on some level or another, whether when I say dwarfishness, I mean not only perhaps physically, but also emotionally or mentally. They're just not moving ahead as they should. So it's more often used as a child's medicine. But what is the second childhood, my friends? The second childhood is in the elderly. And so the remedy I'm talking about is Baryta, Baryta, Baryta carb, Baryta carbonicum. That's it, Baryta carb. Weak memory, especially when it comes to schoolwork. He knows exactly, or she knows exactly where her bike was, or he or she knows exactly where something important to them is placed. But if it's not important and it's schoolwork, the studying is difficult, and so they have a weak memory for that. It takes a long time for them to comprehend something. And let's see, sometimes the person is timid or shy and averse to meeting new people. And this is so valuable for children. Not only will we restore, or perhaps it was never there, not only will we bring memory to this person's abilities on a day-to-day basis, but the tonsils will often get smaller. I know. For those of you who are new to homeopathy, you can't even imagine it, right? How could that be? Well, it is. That's the way homeopathy works. Yes, Baryta, Baryta, first word. The second word is carb, C-A-R-B. Can parasites cause memory loss? They certainly can. Yes. So, yes, gut problems can cause, as we said earlier about lycopodium. So we have to think about this. Are we going to blame the parasites? My friends, I'm going to tell you, is there anyone here who doesn't have any parasites? Just raise your hand. Anybody here who's never had parasites? I don't mean those that have been diagnosed, but is there anybody who doesn't have microorganisms in their system? My friends, parasites are part of life. It's when they get out of control. So you may already know that. I just want to bring that to your attention. It's the same thing with strep and staph and all the other cooties that everyone is so afraid of. My friends, they are who we are. That's part of our microorganism colony in our stomachs and on our skin and in our mouths and everywhere in our bodies. So we must not, and I'm not saying that this person is saying this, but we must not be afraid of microorganisms. It's when they get out of control, when they get too big, they are too grand, that's when it can become a problem. But they are intended to be there to a certain degree. It's all about balance. Isn't that right? Yes. For adults too, for Burrita carbonicum, yes, but I have to tell you, generally Burrita carbonicum is for children, generally speaking, just like lycopodium is more often for men, lycopodium is often for children, but it can also be for adult if the adult is dwarfed of some sort, and especially for the elderly as well. So children and the elderly, those are the balance. You know, when I talk about these medicines, I just want to mention this. When I talk about these medicines, I often tell you, this is a good medicine. Pulsatilla is a great medicine for young girls. So people say, well, can we use it for a man? Yes, we certainly can. But the weight of it is often, not always, often used for young girls. But for a man who eats too much ice cream and is made sick from restaurant food and he feels nauseous and wants fresh air on his face, you're still going to use that medicine. Just know that there's some of these medicines have a propensity for one part of society or one gender over another, even though it can be used across the board. Okay, my friends. Oh, Burrita carbonicum. I would use that in a 200C every third day. That's how I would use it generally. Yep, 200C every third day. And remember, we stop these medicines when they're acting, when the job is done, and then we resume their usage if the medicine needs to be repeated again. My friends, great to see you all. Love it. Love it. So many comments. It's wonderful to see you all. Do indeed. Please remember to like, share, send your friends here. We need to get this information out there. This is a very, very critical information for all families. God bless you all. Mwah! And continued Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, cali carbonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, vista weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.